All right, what's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to DenofTruth. It's your boy Tina. So today I've got the lovely ladies. I've been a fan of this podcast. I've been seeing the progression. I've been seeing the movement, and I think we need this podcast in the atmosphere. I think it's a great podcast. I always gas up. I always gas here about that. But yeah, so today we got the ladies from the Fufu&Tibs podcast. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Good. How's everyone? You guys good?
Yeah.
Well. Okay, so before we start, I want to get into everyone. I want you guys to introduce yourselves and get in. So we'll start from this side and come across. Yeah. So good.
Okay, so I'm Mary.
Yeah.
I'm 29.
Yeah.
The married one out of them, they're all, just gallivanting doing their girls.
Yeah.
I have one child, one on the way. I work in the public sector.
Yeah.
I'm a policy officer. And policy, not police officer.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's a take your time.
Just in case.
It's a take your time for that.
What else do you want to know?
That's it. I'll just give a little introduction of yourself. Okay, keep going.
So Vanessa, I'm how old? 26.
Wow.
27 next month.
Yeah.
I'm in communications and marketing. So I met Rebka first from Say It Loud. So I don't know if you're
just speaking
familiar.
the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Say It Loud. So we created that. Was it 2016? 2016.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Rebka. Ghanaian. So Mary, obviously Gillean and I were Ghanaian. We've grown up. Everyone knows each other in the Ghanaian community.
Yeah.
So I'm working 9 to 5 and then have creative hustles and ventures,
Ventures.
passions on the side.
Yeah.
So
All right, what about you?
I'm Rebka. 24.
So you say you're not saying it again?
Rebka.
Revka.
That's like the Ethiopian way of pronouncing
Okay,
it.
that- yeah,
Everyone just
okay,
calls me
like-
Rebs.
Yeah.
I'm 24, the baby of the group.
Yeah.
Still at uni. I'm in my final semester, starting next week.
What are you studying?
Development.
Okay.
So I hope to go into social impact consulting, the corporate sector. And I work in retail,
Okay, cool.
work in a department store. Yeah.
Last one.
And I'm Gillean, the
Yes.
oldest of the group. I'm 31. I work for a government agency as a business analyst, but I started as kind of like a creative, as a designer and stuff, and then kind of moved up. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. I've been watching your podcast for a while, and I've been seeing, the type of topics that you guys have been talking about, and I think it's really relevant. I think we need a full podcast of Black ladies giving their perspective. I feel like it's very needed in the atmosphere. You see a lot of people from different communities doing it, and I feel as if African Australian culture is to grow, a lot of these stuff it's needed in the
It's
atmosphere.
growing now, though.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot more podcasts out now.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool. Like I'm a fan of people, so like whenever I see stuff like this, I like to listen and I like to try to get people on. So look, talk about the podcast. We'll talk about ourselves too much. so talk about the podcast and why you guys decided to start it.
Well, mine. I know why so I started getting into podcasts maybe like 4 years ago or so. And just listening to a lot of American podcasts. And I was just like looking for some things that I could relate to more. So Australian podcasts, things like that, but they were all,
British or American.
Yeah, or if they were Australian, they were, white. Talking about stuff that I didn't really care for. I was just like, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
I think that's how everyone starts doing it. Yeah. I was just like, I think I can do this. Like, I'm just like, I can't find anything. Like, I can't find anything that I can relate to. So I actually hit up this girl because she did Say It Loud. Yeah. And she got all these Africans from God knows where. I'm like,
where do you recruit these people? Where do you find these black people?
All these black people, because I was just like, oh, not everyday Ghanaians. Like sometimes you need to diversify. So I was like, oh, it'd be good to start something like, So I hit her up and then she was like, oh, I was really thinking about that. And then she had Rebka on the side, right?
Yeah. I think it was Rebka and Gillean. And then we brought Mary on board.
Because when Vanessa came to ask me, she was like, oh, I'm thinking about starting a podcast with Rebka. And I was like, look, I don't want to do it.
I had to convince this girl.
I know that I talk a lot, but it's not something I want to do. And I still even get uncomfortable when we record. Like sometimes I just get up, I'm like, I don't want to do this because like it just, I talk and everything, but in my mind, I'm just not like a public speaker, that kind of thing.
You're
So-
like an extrovert introvert. I'm the same way. Like even sometimes
Yeah.
people think that like I like to, but it's like I'm not like that in real
Exactly.
life.
And people
I'm not
don't
like
people
that.
don't think that of me because
Yeah.
I'm like such a loud person and I'm a
Yeah.
people person. I talk nonstop. But I was just like, oh, this is awkward. And when she came to tell me, I was like, oh, Mary did say something about podcast. Ask her, because I'm pretty sure she wanted to. And so she was like, really? I was like, yeah, ask her. So I was like, yeah, let's bring Mary on board. And then look, here we are now.
That's how it
And
started.
that's how it started.
Yeah.
How do you guys think that how do you think you've been perceived probably in the last, maybe, how long have you guys been doing? 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 6
and
months.
how's the journey sort of been in the last 6 months? And how do you think people have perceived the podcast?
Well, and before we even started, it took a year.
Ever.
A year?
A year
Yeah.
before we
When
actually like
when we got
yeah.
together, she was pregnant with Kyrie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And now she's
yeah.
pregnant with her
Child.
second child. So
Yeah.
just imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we were quite hard on ourselves in that we wanted it to be
Perfect.
before we even started.
You mean we? You mean you?
This is Oh my god.
And it was just like it's hard because like because you hear so many good podcasts, you're
Yeah.
thinking they've got this mad setup. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've set the tone. They've like got a contact sheet of everything that they need to do. So you're like, we need to be on the ball.
Yeah.
But once you start, it's kind of like, oh,
And you learn along the way.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
rhythm to it.
100%.
We've had really good feedback.
Oh,
and I think we've
yeah.
been a bit surprised.
I've been very pleasantly
I've been very
surprised.
surprised.
Why is that? Why do you think? Because I'll tell you what I think you guys have received good feedback. Because like I said, I think people just, I think especially living in Australia, I don't think that the general public have access to like African women.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like definitely if you go overseas, if you go to America,
Yeah.
you see a lot of black people in general. If you go to the UK, you see a lot of black people in general. Africa's the same in different places. But then in Australia, people were just sort of waiting for like African ladies to be a bit more bold.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
seeing that, a lot of people have been, I think they've been wanting to share that story and have people to relate to.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have sort of, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's what people like about it.
To be honest, I don't think I was really surprised.
Really?
I like that confidence. man.
And
You see
I'm
what
not,
I mean? Yeah, I
know
like
in
that
the first place,
confidence.
but
I'm
when I
not
did
saying
it-
it because I'm in it.
Yeah.
I think it's more, no, I'm not saying because, no,
I get you.
it's not because of me. I'm not surprised because, as you're saying, there aren't any voices. And I guess for me, living in the UK, meeting people and then running a blog, the curiosity that people had like outside of Australia
Yeah.
and then inside of Australia that there aren't many of it that are like us. So I imagine once people get onto it, others will get onto it and be like, this is actually really good because we're talking about things that other people are experiencing, right? And we're talking at our level. No, it's not like we're talking at an American level, like we're trying to be other people. We're
yeah.
authentically being us. And so, yeah, in that sense, I don't think I was really surprised.
But I think for me, why I was surprised is because Australians, with everything, we take a long time to jump on things.
Yo, you're like one of the, like, have you lived overseas or you traveled a lot?
Traveled a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about when you see that like Australians about
We are
like five
delayed.
Yeah,
to 10
very
years
delayed.
behind
Yeah.
on everything.
Exactly.
But sorry,
Yeah.
but keep going.
So I think that's why I thought, even though we may think this is amazing, this is what people need, they don't even know that till a couple of years later, like shit, they'll start looking for podcasts and we've done this. So when Gillean had her blog, when I did Say It Loud, it was in a time where they maybe didn't think that this is the content we needed, but it's now getting traction,
Yeah,
with
true.
everything
In
that's
that
going
sense.
on. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's the content or the way we execute it. I just think we're so behind. So we don't know that we need that piece of, content or platform in that moment.
And now it's easy to access content.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's so much easier. Like you push something out on Spotify and everybody around the world can get it, access
Yeah.
it, right? So back in the day, you have to send a link to somebody to see
they
your
see
website,
this,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
What about you, Rebka?
I
What do you
think people are very people are sick and tired of looking outwards for black representation. Like they want to see people that grew up the way they grew up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want to hear something authentic. And bouncing off what Gillean said, like people outside are actually curious as well. Like I got a message from a girl from Belgium and she was like laughing about like, oh, if I'm in Sydney, I'm never going east of Strathfield. Like, because of what I said on one episode, I'm like, yeah, people actually care. Like they're interested because I guess I thought that they wouldn't. It's Australia. They didn't think, oh, because when I go overseas, they're like, oh, there's black people down there.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
just so it's been interesting for sure to see people's intrigue in what we're doing. But
I think
yeah.
also sometimes, like you said, Vanessa, I think it's not necessarily the content, it's more of like people's appetite.
Yeah.
That's what I've
exactly.
learned from my personal experience is like it takes a long time for like Australians to catch on to things which are cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the bottom line. Like
Yeah.
you have to really force it and you have to make it very plain and simple so for them to consume.
Yeah.
Right? Like even your podcast, even with the logo, it's very simple
Yeah.
and easy for people to consume. Because because even when I started this, I was trying to do some complex shit. And then someone, you know what I mean? And someone told me they were just like, make it simple, because if this podcast was, for example, in another market, it's like, it would be one of many. Do you get what I'm saying? So it would have to be a bit more complex than what it is. But now it has to like, let's settle down on the complexness and just like put it out there.
Yeah.
But like that being said, I know you guys or people who already watch it, it's got a heavy focus on the African Australian community. So I wanted to sort of get an understanding of like, you know, where you guys from, where were you guys raised? And yeah, so, you know, break that down. Where were you guys from?
So
Because I know, Mary, you've been in Australia for a while.
Charlie, I was born here.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are all born here? Oh, I'm the immigrant. Yeah. Shit. Okay, cool. I thought we wanted to say team.
No.
I thought we
That's
were,
why you're
okay.
on that side.
Cool, yeah. Damn, so you guys are born here.
Yeah.
We're Aussie.
Yeah.
Proper.
Oh, shit.
Vegemite on toast, crumpets and that.
Yeah, so like, so then you guys have probably seen the development of like seeing Africans come into Australia.
Yes.
Big
Yeah.
time.
100%.
So what was it like being born in Australia and like, you know, what was it like seeing more Africans coming?
I think it depends on what area you're from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think,
I was born in Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the area, the 2144. Yeah. And so like there was like Somalis and then some Ethiopians, and then as time has progressed, when I was like 8 or 9, like then I saw the big influx of like South Sudanese people in Blacktown. So after I moved when I was 4. And to Mountie area, but I did spend a lot of time in Auburn. And yeah, it's been incredible to see. I was one of 2 black people in my grade in primary school. And when I go past my old primary school now, nigglets everywhere.
Yo, do you know what I was saying? I went to school in Cabramatta, like Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
And it was me and my sister, literally. That was the only black people.
Literally.
And I, like, same thing as you. I walked past and I was like, I saw these black kids. I was like, they should have a photo, like a statue of us. Like, we broke those pioneers.
Oh, for real. Like, I'm like, you kids are so lucky. How we suffered. Like, yes, it's been amazing. It's been so kind of rapid. Like, I feel like I'm young and it was like, it's kind of happened in a very short time frame, but I'm liking what I'm saying.
What about high school?
High school, again, one of very few. And one of very few that were actually born in Australia. A lot of a lot of them were actually, like, they came over when they were 8 or 9.
Yeah, to be honest with you, you 4 are like, I've never been in a room of more than 4 Africans who were born in Australia.
Really?
Straight up. Like, I'm surprised you guys are born.
Yeah,
Like,
and a lot of it, like
straight
a lot
up,
of
like,
us
I'm
in our
very
community
surprised.
We're
are
all
born here.
born
Like,
here.
if I'm 31,
Yeah.
there are even people who are older than me.
Born in Australia. Like, no. I've learned it. Like, I've never experienced this. I
That's
came
not the
here in
case for
2000. I'm
Ethiopians,
fresh.
though.
Wow.
Yeah, I
I'm
came
sorry.
here. Yeah.
The shock of my
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I came here in 2000.
So you what,
2000.
5?
I was 5.
Five.
I came
Wow,
here
okay.
when I was 5. Yeah, but like I feel like I've been here for ages.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have.
Well, you have.
Fine.
but-
Compared to
young.
yeah. I know people who just came 2016. Like, they're fresh out that plane. But yeah, how was it like for you, Mary? Like, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Parramatta area.
Yeah.
So, I was the only black kid in primary school, and the only black kid. Oh, well, my brother went to the same high school as me, and he was in year 12. I was in year 7. So.
Yeah.
After that, it was just me, myself.
Oh,
and
so
I.
by the time that you went to high school,
Yeah.
the rest of the crew had already left.
Oh, yeah, there was a couple of black people
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
prior to that.
Yeah.
You know, they weeded them all out. I snuck through that little private school system. And so it was, actually, there was a little bit more. There was 3 that were, in year 12, and I was in year 7. But then that was it. For the whole remainder of my high school year, there was no other black people.
Oh, wow.
So I was
Damn.
the only black person.
But you see that, like, I feel like that's also a big part of it. Also, it's like maybe I'm not sure because I know Nigerians and Ghanaians, you guys have a very strong community. Like you guys were raised with each other, but especially like with Zimbabweans, it's like we didn't grow up. We didn't grow up with a lot of Zimbabweans together. So like you're saying like so I probably met my first black person or African that I hung out with in like year 6.
Whoa.
Yeah, but when you came, right, you were in
So when I came, I was in Newcastle.
Oh, Newcastle,
So no black
okay.
people.
Yeah.
Then when I went to Armidale, it was an indigenous community.
Wait,
so
in
it wasn't
Newcastle?
that bad. Yeah.
In Newcastle, I just know heaps of people who went to uni there, like Ghanaian people. So I'm like, you didn't see other Africans?
Nah.
That's recently,
maybe,
though.
No, before my time. Like they're even older than me. And they went to uni there.
maybe Ghanaians, but definitely not Zimbabweans.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So it was very, very isolating in a sense. Then we went to Armidale and there was a lot of indigenous people. So it was like,
Exactly. Skin folk.
So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then once we started getting to Sydney, that's when it started.
Yeah.
Because I think most of what I'm talking about is Zimbabweans starting to come at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, because you guys, because I say Ghanaians, you guys have been here for a good minute.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even Ethiopians, a bunch of y'all in Melbourne.
Oh,
you guys are there. You guys are there. Yeah. But like, so what about you, Gillean? Like, what was your experience like?
So I was born in Petersham area. And when my parents came, there was like a cluster of them that were together. And like basically whenever they see a black person, that person becomes their friend. And that's how they kind of grew. But mostly they just happened to be Ghanaian and Nigerian. And they all went to a church. And then my parents moved out to Liverpool when I was quite young. And then my mum always says that, we'd go out to the shop and when I see a black person, I'd make us run and go and say hello to the person because I was so excited to see somebody else that looked like me.
Yeah.
And then when I was in school, there weren't that many, a few who drop in, drop out. Then by the time I got to year 6, there were more. And then when I got to high school, there was maybe 10 of us, maybe. And I knew quite a lot of them because most of them were Ghanaian. And then kind of this slow influx of as Mary was saying, South Sudanese, then Sierra Leoneans. But it wasn't until I moved to the UK and came back.
Yeah.
And then I was like, damn, there's a lot now. There's actually a lot more. And it's not just people coming on refugee status, but people migrating for professional reasons, people coming to school and stuff. And just even catching the train or working in the city, I'll see black people when before I wouldn't see that many, you know?
I'm with you, I'm with you.
So it's definitely changed.
No, that's crazy. What about you?
Similar. Why are you laughing?
You're from WS.
Where are you from? Where were you raised?
Well, born in Blacktown.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey, okay.
You know that? I'm a Blacktown girl. Gillean, do you actually know our parents were neighbours in Petersham? We'll talk after.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not surprised though.
Yeah, my mum
I'm
told
actually
me. I
not
was like,
surprised.
wow.
But that's a hotspot.
Yeah, it was a hotspot at
It
that
was.
time.
Yeah.
And then the
My
church that they
parents
all
did
used to go to, where they
Yeah,
congregated.
exactly.
Yeah,
Newtown.
exactly.
Are you talking about
No,
Newtown
it was in
Church?
Petersham Assemblies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So born in Blacktown, lived in Mount Druitt till I was 5, and then we moved to Kellyville.
Okay.
So I've been in Kellyville area since I was 5, and it was at a time when there was no black people there. So
That's
my
tough,
high
man.
school, only black, primary school and high school up until year 9, I was the only black kid.
How was that experience like?
Horrible.
It's so
Especially in a place like Kellyville.
yeah.
It's horrible.
It's so
I don't even notice it until I look back.
Yeah.
At how traumatic it was.
Much of
What
these people
was I
there
doing? Thursday night at Castle Hill, pretending,
at the
had my hair half up,
That's stupid side fringe.
that side print. I just did too much. It was a lot. And so obviously there was an influx of Ghanaians in the Hills area now. So it's a lot better. And then when I was in year 10, I moved to Karratha. Have you heard of Karratha?
No, breakdown, what's that?
It's in WA, so it's 2 hours north.
Karratha, yeah.
2 hours north of Perth. So we went there when there was for work, when there was a mining boom. So my whole family was there at a point. My sister's still there. Obviously, we were one of the few African families at the time. Obviously, it's a big Indigenous community there. So that was an interesting experience as well. But in hindsight, it actually was a really beautiful experience. For me, it was completely different. So it was kind of like Armidale, I guess. Very remote, very different, slower paced lifestyle.
It's about 6 months behind.
Yeah, more than
Just
that.
with everything,
More than
yeah,
that.
yeah,
There were
just
people there
everything.
that had not left Karratha. So I'd say, they'd say, where are you from? Ghana. Where on the map is Ghana?
Show me. Yeah.
Bruv.
What we're doing. Right
them
now.
going to Perth was a big trip for them.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
planned in months in advance to go to Perth.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's like
joking.
a holiday.
We're going to
My
Perth.
goodness.
So it was interesting. So I always went out of my way to go to Blacktown, Bankstown, all the places to get, my dosage of
blacks.
blackness.
So Gillean, you made a really good point. So you moved to London?
Yeah.
Like, was that after you? Like, what period in your life did you move?
I went on exchange
So,
when
like,
I was in my third year of uni, student exchange. I think that was like in 09 and I came back in 010 or maybe 010, something like that. And then I finished uni and then went back in 2013 and stayed there for 2 years and came back in 2015.
What was your experience going from Australia, being with black people, and then going to the UK or being around black people?
Yeah. So the first time I lived kind of a bit outside of London. So there weren't that many black people. Like the black people that were there were the people that were going to uni.
Okay, yeah.
But even that, just going to uni and seeing like a couple of black people in my class was just like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
And then being shocked that they weren't hospitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, sorry.
Hospitable, yeah.
Yeah, hospitable. Just because in my experience, like, you know, if you knew, like if I'm new and Rebka's my friend, and like I bring her to all my people.
everyone is.
Now we're all friends.
Yeah,
now
I'm
we're
taking
all
you to my
friends.
mum and I'm doing this and we're feeding you and this. But when I rocked up, no one cared.
Yeah. I love
just
that.
another black
I
person.
personally, I love that.
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting that.
Oh,
So I was
okay.
like,
You love not caring or what?
No, I love, like, it's like, you guys have all been to Africa, right?
Yes.
The first thing you realize in the airport is that you look like everyone else.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, like, there's no extra shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They judge you based on you.
Yeah.
I like that. You know,
Yeah.
I experienced that when I went to America, where it's like, I touched down and I'm seeing 50, and about 60-40. And like, no one gives a fuck. Like, no one cares if you're black.
Yeah.
I like that environment. So, yeah, but sorry, keep going.
But I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
was
gotta be
expecting
expecting it.
like, you know, Australia times 10, like a Ghanaian Australian community times 10. I'm going to feel love. I'm going to feel it
Okay,
everywhere.
yeah.
And I come and it's not like that. I was just like, what the heck? I even said that. After that, I was like, I'm never coming here again. But then I got over that and I had a great time. And then when I went back the second time, then I was like, yeah, I like this. Because when I walk out of my house, I see somebody that looks like me. I'm not other. I hear my language. I sit on the bus. I hear people gossiping and I totally understand what's going on.
Yeah,
that's
I
lit.
walk into
That's
Top
lit.
Shop,
That's
like
lit.
common
Yeah,
store
yeah.
Top Shop, and I see two Ghanaian people talking and I'm walking behind them, listening to what they're saying.
Small things, small things.
It's novelty, but like it's like this is not my experience. Or like I go into a workplace and I see other black people and I'm just like, yeah, this is
I like this.
I like
this.
you know, I'm
dream.
used to this. This is nice.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, man. Interesting you say that because I feel like I don't have the answers. I'm not smart enough, but the African Australian community gotta do some we gotta do better. I don't know what the answers is in terms of what that is.
You don't
but I
think we're
feel-
doing better though?
But in terms of
I
what
feel
though?
no, okay.
Yeah, better to
I
do
feel
what?
as if like, okay, to be fair, I don't feel like we've been in Australia long enough to really
We
create
haven't.
that infrastructure
all.
Yeah.
where we can really invest in what we're doing. Like, for example, the Italians, they were lucky they had out in Withrow Park,
Yeah.
right? They had Leichhardt before it was Leichhardt.
Yeah.
Vietnamese people, they got Cabramatta.
Yeah.
Lebanese people, they got Bankstown,
Yeah.
so forth.
I
So
know
they
what
were
you're
able to
trying to
get
say.
into those places before it was what it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you look at some of the Italians now, some of my friends, some of the Italian Serbians out in West of Sydney.
Yeah.
They're selling their property for like millions of dollars because now we got all those housing developments. So to be fair, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
No.
Right. But I just feel like in terms of like unity, I feel like the unity is not there. And a lot of it comes from like, oh, you being Ghanaian, you being Zimbabwean, you being freaking from Zambia. So like there's some other weird shit that there's like a conflict, but it's like all of us weren't even raised in Africa, we're raised in Australia.
Yeah.
So we didn't have enough numbers to be acting
even
like
acting
that.
like
You know, we're not in a position to be like not liking each other.
Because
sort of
time
thing.
we choose this.
Yeah, like in a sense. So I feel like we gotta do better than that. And also it's like I think we're talking about this a bit off air also. I feel like we gotta be a bit more confident in ourselves.
Yeah,
Rather than like
100%.
having to try to act a particular way to
Yeah.
make people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
What do you guys think about that?
I think I learned that later on in life, like not acting a particular way or like dimming myself down or kind of shrinking myself to ensure that, you know, the white people are comfortable. Like I moved, for example, when I got married, I moved to an area that's like it's a lot of white people.
Yeah.
And then I felt like a kind of way and I was like, why do you feel a kind of way? You pay
Yeah.
I'm not living here for free. I'm just a part of the community as much as these people. So I shouldn't shrink myself to make myself feel like, oh, you know, I have to tiptoe around here. No, you got to get used to this face. You got to get used to this skin.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And understand that, I'm as much of an Australian as you are.
Yeah.
And I'm part of this. So I don't need to.
What about
be
you
able
guys?
to away.
I think that shrinking is actually really like it starts to feel natural after a while. Like I had to really like train myself to not do it because I've actually been doing it since I was born. Like we were actually being born here. We were born as others. We've never experienced not being another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to train yourself to behave like I belong here. Like
Yeah.
I'm just as entitled to whatever you are.
Yeah.
And I think that for me it was more in like my demeanor. Like I'm a quote unquote sassy person, but I'll dim that down because I don't want to play into a stereotype. You know what I mean?
I like that.
But the thing is,
Dig
I'm a
into that.
person. I don't want to be a person, be or not be something in order to appease you or to be a representation so that you don't reflect badly on my community. I should be able to be the individual that I am, irrespective of what you think of my people or my race or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you're torn because you are representative of such a small
what it is.
minority. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
what it is.
You
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And it's like, especially because I grew up in the school I went to as like the teachers like oh, you're such a good girl, and like there'd be other black kids who would act up. They'd be like, why don't you like be a bit more of an influence on them? Like, why don't you try and help them? And then like when that kind of thing is embedded in you when you're like 14, 15, it takes so much unlearning. You know what I mean? And I think the process begins by surrounding yourself with others like that are like you, and you realize actually I'm actually just a person. Like
it ain't nothing more, man.
So it's definitely a process, but it's one that I think things like this have helped ease.
I get that. I get more of that experience at work when you meet people. You guys probably have experienced. Have you ever met someone who's never been around black people?
You don't even. They don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
You can literally in their face.
And then I think well, black people, but I think black men experience a lot, especially when it comes to women.
Please,
We want to know.
please talk.
We want to know.
Do you know what? I've been asking this question because I'm just like, women talk about the issues that they have at work all the time.
Yeah.
But I never hear black men talk about it.
It's I feel like, okay, it's not the overt racism, because that really isn't there in the workflows. It's not. It is probably there in doses, but it's not over. It's the macro. So, for example, so my sister works in a corporate environment, and she's very senior, and she goes to me, and I was getting into the workforce, and she goes to me, and this was her looking out for me, because I know this is when I got in there. She goes, you got to remember when you get into a workforce that you're black, so you're already intimidating. And then you're black and you're a male, right? And then you're black and your face sits a certain way. So you know what I mean? So you have to be very conscious that you're not intimidating people. Now, I then get into the workforce, and then I'm getting that energy. Now I have to be the nice dude. You know what I mean? Now, you go in and it's like, when I'm being straight with someone, I feel like they feel a sense of fear. But it's just like, it's not really like that. Like, I'm actually just speaking to you directly. It's not just like, my language is direct. That's just how I was raised. The African languages in general is very direct. And there's no like, there's a lot of, not screaming, but
We get it.
there's a lot of, you're speaking directly. You're speaking. So when I'm speaking English, it's direct. So now you go into a workforce, and it's like, now you have to sort of tone that down, especially as a black guy, because now you're dealing with a lot of corporate people, and working in a corporate environment, you guys will know what I mean. But like, especially when you start getting, people who are not black in senior positions, they want to feel as if they're more dominant than you. Do you know what I mean? So as a black guy, either you have two choices. Either you lessen that intimidation, which is not intimidation, it's you being yourself, or you just firm with who you are. And when you're firm with who you are, then people feel intimidated. So that's that experience.
Do you say you don't have any other black people at your current
There's one. And every time I see a black person, I'm like, we need. I'm like, whatever you need, dog, on this side, I can help you with whatever you need. But and more so when it comes to like women, it's like black men are a fetish. So, and this is 9 out of 10 times. And people know what I'm talking about. Like, black guys are a fetish. It's like dating a black guy, oftentimes for people, it's seen as this like a social credibility to to what you're doing. So that's that experience. So you have to be able to weed through that. So I think that's why a lot of black guys just prefer to date black women. Because you don't get that shit.
If you go on like dating apps, every black guy has like, do you like chocolate in his bio? Or do you want to taste the chocolate?
Let me tell you why. Because I feel as if I'm snitching on myself. I'm stitching up the fellas right now. But I think that black guys, when they see like black girls on dating apps like that, they just have it's a psychological thing where you expect more.
What do you mean?
Like you don't like, because you know what those dating apps are.
What
You
they're
know
for.
what Tinder is for.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
You know what it is for.
I get it.
So like when you see a black woman on there, you're just like,
I can't be doing that.
I can't be doing that to my sister. Like I might know you. I might know you.
Yeah.
I might know your mum. I might know your sister.
Especially
so
in
like,
Sydney.
especially in Sydney, because the pool of black women in Sydney is small.
Yeah.
But the pool for men is even smaller.
Yeah, I was gonna 100%.
Yeah.
But I think it's also
100%.
because we all know each other. Like,
It's
Yeah.
the community you
It's
come
the
from as well.
community.
Do you
as
feel
well.
as if black guys, like from your experience, dating experiences, and like, you know, guys' interest experience, do you feel as if black guys prefer to be with black women?
I don't think they prefer.
I think it really depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
A lot of
I think they're
brothers are
just
going
more
through a
open.
woke phase now.
Oh, work.
That's like calling you my queen.
Princess.
And all the things. But I think a lot of guys, for the sex thing, they'll play into the chocolate idea. They will. They'll play into it, I think.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I've
Black guys
seen
do?
it.
they enjoy
Yeah,
that.
they enjoy that. They're like,
They
yeah,
enjoy it.
you know, mix it up or swirl or whatever the fuck. Yeah, no, they definitely play into it.
I don't
for
think that
sure.
it's not that they don't prefer black women. I just think you guys are more open to dating outside your race. I don't think you're actively seeking black women. If you happen to meet a black woman, great. If you meet a white woman, you vibe, that's what you go for.
But also, sorry. But also more non-black women are more open to dating you as opposed to
Exactly.
non-black men that are open to dating us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys feel that vibe?
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
also, I've heard that it just seems easier if you date a non-black girl. Just in terms of like, we think of culture nuances, the fact that you have to keep up with certain things, or that black girls demand too much. So
It's always been for
easy-
negative
Yeah,
reasons.
so,
Yeah.
so for them, it's
Exactly.
just easy to go with
they
the
can
non-black person
run
because
around and
they
do
don't care
whatever.
and the fetish, and you know they love me for me, so I'll
Yeah.
take that.
You know what?
that
Also, a
type of
big
thing.
part of it is some like when my homegirls told me this, she was like, black women can pull up black guys on this shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Why?
Definitely.
Anyone else don't. And then when she said that, I was like, that's true.
Yeah.
I can. But but that's interesting. I've always thought that, like, because I'm always looking at it from like a male perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought it was actually the other way around.
Is that how all your
Yeah,
friends
I-
think, though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What? The what?
Like, they want only to be with black women.
I think that majority of my black friends know they're gonna marry a black woman.
Okay. Interesting.
But in the meantime, they'll be doing
marry.
dummy.
So what are they doing before then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think okay. It's
Yeah.
look. Also, no. We gotta unpack this. We gotta unpack this. All right. So one, we gotta talk about quantity. In terms of like like actually how many black women are there in Sydney?
More than men.
Yeah, he.
Yeah, you know, no, but compared to like let's just say how many Asian women there are in Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many
yeah,
white
of
women there are
course.
in Sydney? How many
Well,
Indian
yeah.
women, for example? So you got to break it down in terms of quantity. And no, actually, no. I don't have a good reason. Yeah. I'm gonna wind all that shit back.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wind that shit back. I have no idea, but I know personally I'll probably marry a black woman.
Yes, you marry.
Yeah,
But
up
everything
until
up
then,
until
Yeah.
then,
What do you
Who
do?
would
you're
date?
just dabbling in anything that comes
yeah,
your way.
But is that a bad thing? Like, do you feel as if
Are
that
you
like that's an
dating? Are
insult?
you dating to progress and marry someone, or are you just dating for experience?
But
A big part. Well, look, I know a big part of people who date outside their races for the experience.
at the same time as well, what if during that time for the experience you find someone that you gel with and you're like, oh wait, crap.
You mean
I can
that's not
actually-
black?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not black, a non-black woman.
It
And then you
depends. It
end up
depends who
being-
you are. Like I know a lot of people who like I know a lot of people who are okay with that and they just don't really care about and I'm with that as well. I'm like I'm not God. You can do whatever you want. I don't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
care.
yeah.
But like I know majority of my friends know that they're probably gonna marry a black woman at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But like you said, there has been an increase in that sort of consciousness. You know, it wasn't like that for a minute.
You
Like
guys are
said.
behind. I think the males are behind because I kind of had an experience with a guy who was going through his woke phase when he met me, and like I remember he grew up in the hills. He grew up in Castle Hill. So take of that what you will.
Yeah.
He's always hating on the hills.
Yeah.
No human rights for hills niggas. Period. So he came, like he was on a date and it was summer and he was wearing shorts and his ankles were ashy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, nigga, what your ankles? And I'm like, come on. I pulled out my cream.
Do you do that on the day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is this the second date?
The third.
Okay.
Because you can't be around me and not be presentable. You know what I mean? And it's summer even. What? And you're wearing shorts.
And you know what time it is. It's summer.
So, anyways, he's creaming his ankles. He's like, "Oh, see, this is why I have to be with a black woman. She pulls me up on my shit." I'm like,
Oh my god. Come on, cream this.
Nigga, I'm not here to raise you. That's the thing. When you meet a guy in his work phase, you're now having to baby him. You're now having to pull him through his consciousness and be his leader. I'm trying to be a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be taken for ice cream and all these nice things. Why am I teaching you about cream?
It's true.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not here to be that woman who pulls you up on your shit. Like, I'm young
women
and I
are
would
tired
like,
of doing
yeah, and I just want to have a young, carefree relationship. Why do I have to walk you through consciousness? You know what I mean?
But look, but that being said, black women as well, like, look, I feel as if a black woman, that being said, expect a lot from black men. In the sense of, you can have a general expectation of anyone. Like, I expect a particular thing from a woman, period.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like black women, they expect a lot from black men. Like, they expect them always
Like what?
to be in a particular position.
I get
'Cause,
what you mean, though.
You know, like, black women expect, like...
I don't
I don't get it.
I do.
I
don't
feel
get
like the expectation for women is just
So
set
high.
at
So high.
Yeah, it's
Which-
just a specific.
It's not that I'm siding, but I do know like certain women who are just like, you know, I need my man to make sure he knows how to drive and he makes 6 figures. Mind you don't have a license.
Yeah.
You're getting paid
Yeah.
5 figures. I don't know why you're asking for all this. You know, those type of things. Like,
those type
I
of
want my
things.
man to do this. And it's like, but you're not even up there. So I don't understand.
That's a black thing or
That's a lot of women. That's a lot of women.
I guess that's just a general perspective
But
on
yeah.
men and women.
Yeah,
but
so then the demand seems high that they want too much. And it's like, I can't live
I
up to
think
that.
that's just our expectation. We expect more of men because
That's just
If we're-
gender
I think,
roles. That's in
yeah.
a lot of cultures.
Yeah, most definitely. But I sense it. I feel it a lot.
Sense
From
it.
personal
What are the expectations?
From a mixture of both. I think the bottom line issue is that a lot of black guys here, especially, we're not raised around a lot of black women.
What about your mum?
Well, besides that, you can have that. You can have that relationship, with your mum and with your sisters, but that's what, 4 people,
Yeah, fair.
That's like
fair.
right?
Yeah.
Compared to you going into a market where it's like everywhere you see is white females. Like only a specific amount of males can see through that. You know what I mean? But like majority of males, it's like it is what it is.
Are you really in tune with your Zimbabwean culture?
I'm very in tune.
And you, like, in terms of, like, you're entrenched in the community and you're part of the...
Yeah, I'm entrenched in what needs to be entrenched. You get what I'm saying?
that's a no.
I'm there.
That's
No. I'm there, but I'm there in spirit. If it's some, you know what I mean? If it's some other... But you guys know what I'm talking about.
No.
If it's some other African thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how Africans do that? Let me break it down. Okay. So, and this will probably be the same with Ghanaian, Ethiopian, it's all the same thing, it's all the same concept. But like with Zimbabwean, sometimes it's like, all right, it's great for you to gather at church. Right? But that's great for you to just gather at church. When it starts to get into the bitching and when it starts to get to the conversation, and now it's getting weird.
Yeah.
What are we doing now right now?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not in that.
Okay.
But I'll be there if it is a wedding. I'm there. What up?
Okay.
But any other stuff that I feel as if,
It's
what are we
extra.
doing? What are we doing right now? I ain't there.
What about other cultural things? Like, do you have Independence Day
Yeah, like I'm
Christmas
heavily to do
celebrations?
with like Zimbabwean culture, man. Like I'm a big advocate of my culture. Like if you don't, I feel like if you're in Australia and you're African and you haven't had you don't have a sense of identity of your African culture, you can get very lost.
Yeah.
Like I'm lucky, I've been to Zimbabwe quite a bit, so like I know exactly where I'm from. So like if let's just say Australia went to war or whatever, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know exactly, boom, plane, bus here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't have that.
I think I'm asking because you're saying that a lot of black men haven't been growing up around black women.
Yeah.
And just thinking about our Ghanaian community, I don't know if a lot of them would agree with that because they're very involved in the community.
Yeah, okay.
So
I think my upbringing was a bit different because I was, we did have certain things and certain events and stuff like that, but there still wasn't that many. Like, you know what I mean? There still wasn't that many for you to really have those options.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say you got 30 on a Sunday. Let's say you got 30 or 40 on a Sunday compared to the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then now you're going to a white school. And now all your mates are white.
Yeah.
Now you're going to white parties.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday you see 30. Like it's not enough really for you to have
Yeah.
that outlook and for you to have that exposure. And I feel like that's my experience. I more so started actually hanging with black people, like being around black women probably like in year 8. just because we didn't have the numbers. Like there wasn't many. Maybe we were in the wrong part of Sydney and I was talking to the wrong people. That's a big part of it.
Cabramatta.
Cabramatta, yeah, like we were close to Liverpool, so I did see black people, but like it just wasn't the numbers. Like when you guys are talking about like you guys had numbers, that's what I like about the Ghanaian and Nigerian community. Is like you guys got numbers and like you guys at least try to gather and come together.
Yeah, I think we
I
move
fuck with
differently
that.
because I've met someone I think she was Kenyan. And we went to a wedding and there was like over 600 people. And she's like, I've never seen anything like this. And I was like, really? And she goes, no. She goes, I can't even tell you how many Kenyan people I know. And I've been here for ages because we just don't meet like this. And I was like, this is normal. Like there's a lot of people here, but this is a normal thing. And I'm like, just standing here, yes, there's 600 people, but probably know at least half of them. Like actually know them.
Yeah.
And she was actually really shocked. So then I was like, oh, okay. I realized how lucky we are in a Ghanaian community because we're actually quite tight knit.
Yeah, everyone knows.
I think it's getting better now because of pure numbers. I went to New York and I like came back and I was like, man, there's a lot of Zimbabweans now. Like I'm not sure whether like
Where have you guys been?
yeah, like I don't know. I think now we're starting to come together because there's a bunch of we got a massive community in Melbourne. Like the proper
really?
the proper Zimbabwean community I could probably say is in Melbourne, and it's
What
a bit
about
different.
in Perth?
Yeah,
There's heaps
Perth.
in WA.
Yeah, Melbourne and
WA,
Perth, and I think a lot of those reasons is because Melbourne had a shortage in nurses. Right, so a bunch of if you go to any hospital, you're gonna see a bunch of Zimbabweans. You're gonna see a bunch.
She knows how
Yeah, yeah. So a bunch of them came to Melbourne, and a lot of them because they came from like being nurses is a very good job. Like it's high paying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stability in it. So when they came to Melbourne, a lot of them were sort of able to get into like middle income sort of straight away. So that's why the vibe there is a bit different. Same as Perth because now you got a lot of engineers. You got a lot of them doing that. So the vibe there is different.
Yeah.
And then you got us in Sydney where we're grinding. No, I love you. But what I'm saying is that the community is very, very scattered. But I think now it's starting to come together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Damn, that was a big tandem. I don't know how the hell we ended up. Yeah, I don't know how we ended up there. But yeah, so look, talk about your last episode. You guys talked a lot about money, Africans and money, and I think Mary had a very good perspective. And I wanted you sort of to dig deeper into it.
Is that the one where we have like skills and occupations?
Yeah.
We don't actually. Yeah, I just feel like, for example, I was getting married. I need a black hairdresser. I need a black florist. I need a black, event coordinator. Like those things weren't available to me. So just things like, okay, I'm skilled in, let's say, marketing. That's not something that I see us stepping out and doing and being like, oh, let me just, get this side hustle going in whatever I'm actually doing. So I feel like that's a big deficit within the African community that we don't step out and, try and be self-employed with whatever skills that we have. We just rely on the 9 to 5 because it's comfortable and, we don't have to hustle very hard. But, for example, I grew up around a lot of Middle Eastern people, and every day, my cousin, he's doing this, and now he's just got a side business, and he's just
starting off.
He's just starting off. So he was in building, and now he's started his own construction company. It's just like, bruh, they just start these things
quick turnover. It's quick turnover.
They just do it on their own whim and on their own will, and they have that entrepreneurial spirit where they want to move and make things for themselves. But I think we're just very like, if we got our 9 to 5 and our income's coming through and we know exactly what we're getting, we don't really care to move too much into that space.
And I think that's our generation, man. Like, I hate that shit. I call that like the slave mentality, man.
Yeah.
When people just come in and they feel very comfortable in doing that. Like, a lot of my friends are Vietnamese and I grew up in Cabramatta. And one thing that I was able to see in Cabramatta, which was like, this is in my mind, if I become a billionaire, this is exactly how I would phrase it, like Cabramatta, where it's like, they've got their own accountants. So like, it was crazy because I'll be talking to a couple of my homies and they're like, yeah, man, my mum went to get some food. And I'm like, oh, where'd she go? She was in John Street. Oh, cool. Then we had to go to the bank. I was like, where's Cabramatta, CBA in Cabramatta. Oh, cool, man. We had to get a couple of things that counted done. Yeah, he's just up John Street. And I'm saying, what do you not do out of your community?
Yeah.
Where's this money? Like, what's going on? What's going on in this place?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And I think that's where we got to sort of get to.
I think
because
our
I don't feel like
generation's better. I
We're
really
better.
disagree. I think our generation's doing better.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is better because
okay.
I feel like we're getting to that point
Yeah.
now. I feel like our generation is the ones who are sort of being a bit more bold.
And
Yeah.
stepping
You know what I mean?
out. Yeah.
That are not sort of like sitting back and allowing things to just be the 9 to 5 type
Yeah.
thing.
There's nothing wrong with 9 to
Yeah,
5,
and
by
that's-
the way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've only seen that really within the last like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? Have you seen it before then?
I feel like our generation is, in terms of starting side hustles and businesses, I think what we lack in is the community aspect. So with Mary talking about Middle Eastern people, like we do have those side hustles just so dispersed, and we don't all come together. And there's a trust aspect as well with
Yeah,
black people.
it's definitely the
Yeah.
trust.
I think that's a deeper. I think that's a deeper
That's
issue.
very
It's definitely
I think
trust
if we cut all the
colonial.
bullshit we're talking about,
Yeah.
it's the trust aspect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if I go to a white accountant, for some reason in my
I
brain,
think it's better.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's better.
Yeah.
For
but
some
also
reason.
for some reason as well, maybe as a black person we don't want that other black
We don't want to
person
share the
know
information.
that
Yeah.
information or
Yeah,
our
yeah.
personal
To know my
information.
salary and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just not willing to kind of be open
Yeah,
to each other like
I think we
that.
got to get past that because it's
Yeah.
like another white dude wouldn't have the same conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who'd go even if he doesn't trust, let's just say someone in his community, who'd go to the other side of Sydney and get someone that looks like him.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's a trust thing.
But then
Yeah.
also we're also growing, so we lack diversity. So saying the black florist and the black hairdresser, we're growing. So now there are going to be more people who are going to get into those kind of things, and then more people in those professions and starting those things as well. Because guys, give us a bit of a break. We are a really young community. We actually haven't been here for that long. So it's only now that for our generation, we're finding our feet. Like, our parents struggled, they hustled. Now we're like, all right, we've got wings. We can do other things and do different things,
Yeah, I think that's a big responsibility because I was saying like after this whole Black Lives Matter thing, it made you reflect. It's like, all right, cool. So we know who's got to do the work,
Yeah.
but also like I feel like black people now we got to do more work,
Definitely.
right? Because we're in a situation where it's like a lot of the stuff that people benefit of black culture, we're not benefiting from.
That's
besides
exactly right.
like looking cool.
Yeah.
And that has no monetary benefit.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
looking cool, like that does not do anything for you.
Yeah.
So I think like we have to do a lot more work in that. And I think it's a trust thing. That was a good point. So I'm thinking about it and I feel like that's the deeper issue.
Yeah.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
is,
that's just
definitely
the
is.
deeper issue.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And it's also among us, like Ghanaians and Ethiopians have no cultural relation, whereas a
Yeah.
Leb and a Syrian have so much in common. They'll find common ground. So
Yeah.
it's harder to do group economics as a bunch because we're so culturally diverse, right?
Yeah.
But with our generation, because our parents, they're still thinking like back home. It's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But a Ghanaian and an Ethiopian born here, they have things in common. So like, let's build together. We're more
Yeah.
willing to build together. So it's also, like Gillean said, a time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's nothing. But we gotta be aggressive with that time.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. Yeah, like I understand it's a time thing, but
How long?
Yeah,
Yeah, how long? We gotta start being aggressive. We gotta
exactly.
start being more bold.
Yeah.
But I had a question for you, Mary, or for anyone here. More specifically you, because you have kids.
Yeah.
So throughout the whole Black Lives Matter thing is whatever,
Oh, Charlie.
people are talking what they were talking about. And a lot of the things, the scope of the conversation led to like, kids, people are racist because their parents are racist. And they're raised up in a racist environment.
Yeah.
So I had a tough question for you, and if you guys want to chime in. How do you raise anti-racist babies?
Well, there's a post on Fufu&Tibs. Walk you right through it.
Yes.
But I feel like it's just important to be active in the way that you raise, in the way that you raise anti-racist children. So you need to ensure that you're exposing them to a diverse range of people that look different and also encourage them to see the difference. So not that I don't see colour or don't talk about their colour. If anything, their skin is darker, it's beautiful, something like that.
Yeah.
Like tell them to embrace it and love it and not kind of just, sweep it under the carpet like, don't talk about her skin.
Yeah.
That's silly
Taboo.
Jimmy. Yeah. Silly Jimmy do that. So I feel like it's more so the parents also need to educate themselves, and that's a big part of it. And I think some of them really don't want to. They don't think that it's really important. They're just like, they see,
They'll never experience it, so they just feel like...
they feel like it doesn't
affect
me. So why should I really? And they think, Snoop Dogg's on this Uber Eats ad now. Like, my child's seeing black people somewhere, in ads and things like that. But that's not it. It's not enough to ensure that when, for example, someone is facing some kind of racist behavior, your child is not the one that turns the other cheek or looks away.
Yeah.
Your child is the one that's like, oh, crap, that's actually not right. And then either says something about it, intervenes, or,
Just jumps in.
Yeah, jumps in.
What do you guys think?
I think a lot of people think that children don't see race. Like, oh yeah, like they're pure innocent beings. They do because their little shits were racist.
Exactly.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like kids are capable of being shitty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that
Kids are
includes in
very
racist.
shitty, man.
Very shitty.
How many experiences have we had as children?
I'm not sure about you
where
guys,
they've
but do you
talked
ever like
shit?
sometimes? And I understand the ignorance, but you see like a little white baby just looking at you. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Not even Asian babies.
Yeah,
Asian babies.
scary.
I mean, Asian adults do that.
Yeah, that too.
you just look at like now. I just stare too.
Yeah.
No one's telling me I'm staring too. Like if you stare at me, I'm staring too.
I was in the food court the other day with my son. I was feeding him, and this little baby was like, little Asian kid looked at and then started pointing. Really?
Yeah.
I literally started pointing at him. I swear
I'm not
down.
surprised.
I was like, hello. And then he was like, and then all his family turned around and looked at me, and I was like,
Yeah, and they're like, oh, sorry.
Like how old is... What do you mean?
the baby must have been like 5, 4.
Yeah.
Mate, that
And then
sounds like
they
my
had,
whole
like,
China
two.
experience.
You went to China.
Oh my gosh.
You went to
yeah,
China?
Yeah.
I was talking about that experience. That sounds like
Basically what Mary's saying.
But adults.
Yeah,
Like a
adults.
zoo
What do you mean?
So like we went during like a national holiday in China. Big mistake. It was me, my mum, and my 6'1"
Oh, gosh.
cousin.
God.
And
Oh my lord.
people were taking photos. And I happened to like see this woman stand very close to me taking a photo with her phone. So I pulled out my phone and started taking a photo. And then I posted on Instagram. And then somebody posted, oh, look at everybody else with their phone. And then I looked at the photo and realized there were like 10 other people looking back at me with their phone as well. And then everybody would just come up to us and be like, oh, can we take a photo? Can we take a photo? Can we take a photo? And it got to a point where I was like, we need to leave because this is getting too much. And that's not the first time. Like China was bad, but it happened when I went to Cambodia. It happened when I went to Vietnam.
Did you say yes or no?
Sometimes you're just like,
When it started, when it started, we took, like sometimes people are like, oh, can I take a photo with you? Like the first time it was fine, but then it became,
You don't clock it until it's asked a
and
million
then,
and one time.
and then one girl came and I was like, nah, man, I need to charge for this. So I said to her, oh, pay me. And then she looked at me and said no and started laughing. And I said, then I'm not taking the photo. I'm going.
Yeah.
And then she was shocked. But I was like,
fuck.
but why? So then I just left. So yeah, and then catching the train, people staring, got to a point where like we were there for like 10 days. It got to a point where when I'd get on the train, my mum would actually cover me. Like she would stand in front of me and block her hands and be like, no photos.
So they weren't asking your mom?
Yeah, she's like, no one cared about me. Like no one was paying attention to her. It was just, when I was with my cousin, it was me and my cousin. And then when he left, the attention was on me. Whoa. So my mum had
That's
to then
uncomfortable.
protect me.
Did you have braids?
I was about to ask if you
Yeah, I
had
had braids.
What kind of hair did your mum have?
She had braids as well.
Whoa.
My mum was like, oh, maybe it's because you're younger.
Now that's strange. You know what? Now I'm just staring back. Like,
Honestly,
I don't feel like it's my like position. I'm not the black guy who is like going to do the explaining.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it can go to
yeah.
someone else, and I would champion who that individual who has that patience.
Yeah.
But if you're staring at me, I'm staring at you back.
Yeah.
Like I don't have the patience for that shit. You know what I mean? I was talking to someone. I was like, fuck. Some people just want to go to work.
Exactly. Literally.
You know what I mean? Like just like you like to go to work, boom, and then go home.
Yes.
Some people like to go to work, not experience some bullshit, and then come back home to their family. I'm not a spokesperson. I don't want to talk to you just like I'm a regular. I think a lot of people, especially with me, they think like I'm a spokesperson. Like, nah, I just want to go home. I want to do my shit and like just be a regular human being, just like everyone else. Nah. But that's interesting.
It's not easy.
It is tiring. But Mary, do you go out of your way to show Kyrie shows that are diverse and
Yeah. Like, for example, he loves the Wiggles, and I am just, so many white people, no, black people. It's so annoying. And I found one episode where they introduced like this saxophonist. I'm like, look, this is the only black person. This is on repeat. Like, and then or if I'm watching TV and it's on, maybe I just leave it on NITV.
Oh,
so
I
then
love
he sees,
NITV.
yeah. So then he sees.
They're trying to do some shit there.
They really are.
No, they really are.
Yeah, I fuck it. They're
really
trying to do
are.
some shit there.
So
What about
I
toys
intention-
and stuff?
Oh, he doesn't have a lot of toys that have like a lot of.
Thanks.
Growing up,
faces
did
and dolls.
you have white dolls?
No.
No, she had a black baby born.
I had a black baby.
Really?
I wouldn't tolerate a white. Why do I need you posted a picture with a white ass baby? I was like, whoa, that's so weird.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you would just,
Yeah. And do you know what? Funnily enough, my godmother, before I was born, gave my mum a black doll. And my mum thought, oh, like, you know, maybe she's going to have a girl. Like, she might have a girl. And somebody was really offended. And I think it was a white person. She was really offended.
That
Yeah.
your mum gave you a black.
Yeah, that someone gave my mum a black doll.
Excuse me.
And my dad was
that?
like, I don't understand why she was offended, but she was so upset about it.
was the person white or black?
Why?
Then it
The
doesn't
person
matter
was
about
actually
the.
white.
Oh my god!
Like, but my dad was like, it was so he was saying it was so weird to him why she was offended, because to him he was like, oh my gosh, this person actually really thought of me,
Yeah.
and thought of my wife
Yeah.
and the child we're potentially having, and this woman was pissed.
No,
And I'm pretty sure it was my godmother.
Oh wow. No, I just everything I expose to him, I just try and be intentional with it. Like, for example, books. There's a lot of books that we got that have like a lot of white faces in it, but then I just go out of my way to like order black
books.
Yeah.
That represent.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I just grew up around white people. Like white people, white shit.
Yeah. I mean, a lot
You know
of us
what
did
else
that.
is
Now I'm
wild?
thinking about that. Yeah.
I vividly remember throughout my primary school life, you know, skin color.
Oh,
my God.
the texture
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not called skin color.
I
It's
cringe
called
at
beige.
just thinking about
It's beige.
thinking about
you know
asking
what I'm
for that.
saying?
Can I borrow
And
the
I
skin
grew up,
color?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
you know, and
crazy.
I always just remember what, like, you know, I think it got to a point where I was just like, this is not my skin color.
Yeah.
And it's not called skin color. It's
Yeah.
beige.
Yeah.
You know, and that was so. I never grew up around black shit, and like I tried to expose my nephews and nieces to things that, because they grew up in very like white environments. You know what I mean? So like it was my niece. She's in Newcastle, and it's like
Oh, so they're
So
all
she-
still there.
yeah. So I got a bunch of people out there, and it's like, you know, she's got two sides. She's got a white side and she's got a black side. So her experiences are wild if you really think about it. It's
Yeah.
like you're going from white to a family, then you go to Sydney and everyone's black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm always very conscious in trying to understand what's her experience. What's it like? How does she identify? Like, you know, what's going on in her head?
And what does she say about her identity?
So she's a bit switched on. So she completely understands that like she's biracial and she's half Zimbabwean, half Australian, and she understands that she has African family. Like that is where she's from, and she enjoys that aspect to it. So I think that was, you know, but I was gonna say I think it's natural, but I think it was very forced.
Is it her mum or her dad?
Her mum. Her mum's white.
Yeah.
That's why.
Her
What do
mum's
you
white.
mean?
Her mum's white?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No, her mum's
No.
white.
Oh,
Oh, her mum, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now I find that with mixed race
The black
children,
mum.
Yeah.
when the mum's black, there's just a different dynamic to how the child is raised.
Yeah.
I can
yeah.
agree with
very-
I can
very
agree with that. Yeah.
The mother really carries
Very
the
much
culture
so.
and really
She doesn't let it
instills
go,
it.
even
Yeah.
she will continue to speak her language,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if the child doesn't understand. But then with dads, they just
Yeah, they kind of
just
slow,
let it
you know?
go.
They let it go.
You're not feeling the males right now. I'm getting the sense.
It's not intentional.
Yeah, I feel
Do
it.
better. Like,
So, what another question I want to get into with you guys. What do you guys think about cancel culture?
Oh, that's Rebka's people,
Yeah, I know,
her
yeah, man.
generation.
She's a social media
I
queen,
love
man.
that shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think it's stupid to say that someone can't maybe like evolve, adapt.
especially it's like you can't bring up something that I said when I was wearing Bestonless singlet underneath my uniform. Like you can't.
You can't bring it up.
When I had braces,
Hey, shout out Dumb Man. Shout out by the levels. We'll see you, man.
like you can't like people have like if the things I said in high school are exposed, I would be
Charlie.
finished.
You know what you know how Facebook even does, you know,
Oh, the memory
From 2 years ago. Delete.
Delete all that shit. Delete it all because and it's very rarely in the spirit of actually
Informing.
informing. It is honestly, I don't think it's like such justice. People are like highly evolved mean girls who learn big words.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I can now fuck someone over with social justice rhetoric and get you cancelled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that being said, if a dragging needs to happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
Like I will happily drag. But cancelling, I think, it's just a bit. Like I said, it's rarely in the actual spirit of the cause.
Yeah, like I saw this thing in Melbourne because of what's happening with COVID, and it was like a hotline to snitch on people who go outside the house.
Oh,
And I was just like, this is fucking, what are we doing?
what happened
Like,
to DBWs when at
what is-
Heathrow? Like, what happened?
You know that? Like
hotline
my
to
whole thing
switch.
is that like I feel like we're getting to like an environment where, as if, like you said, people are not evolving. Don't judge me on what I said 5 years ago because I was wild.
Yeah.
I matured. I was wild.
it.
If you look at some of this, and I always like to refer to like, I hope no one tries to bring some shit up against me because like I said some wild shit.
We all did. We all did.
I said this a wild shit. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like
Even
don't try
now
to
we're
build
still
it up.
saying
Yeah,
wild
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna look back. We're gonna look back and think the same
You know,
thing.
it's like yeah, so I think it's very strange, especially when people like it's been like 30, 40 years ago. It's like
But I think
30 to 40
if you're a
years?
celebrity, like that's just the most common thing to do is if you have a PR rep or something,
Delete everything.
delete the crazy shit.
Yeah. But I think it's sort of getting out of control now, man. I think it now is starting to become a control thing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not a conspiracy therapist, therapist type of guy, but like I feel like a lot of it is starting to become like a control thing. Like you cannot be yourself. Like you can't grow as a person. You can't try to have different opinions. And then it's starting to become like, oh, okay, if your opinion is different to mine, then I am the other. But like it's like you have the woke people, then you have the anti-woke people, and then you don't realize that you're just in a cycle of bullshit. Like you're just complete. Like you're saying this is right, and then you're saying, oh, this is probably not right. But like, what about if you guys have a conversation?
Yeah. That's
And
it.
9 out of 10 times, if you really like, someone told me they were like, if you're arguing with someone, ask them what information do you need for me to prove you wrong, and if they can't give you that question, then you're not arguing.
That's good.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like you know, so and that's how I argue with people. If I feel like I can't give them information, I'm probably wrong. You know.
Yeah. I think with cancel culture too, I feel like people are not very forgiving when it comes to Black people. Do you agree, Rebka?
You mean within
What do you
our
mean?
own culture? as
Yeah,
well?
within
Like,
our own
within
culture,
people,
and even if you think about just like celebrities and stuff, that they crucify them for making mistakes. But you know, Sally or Bob, you forget about the mistakes they made and give them another chance. So I think we just need to be mindful of that we are human beings and we all make mistakes. So if that was us on a pedestal, would we like that? And it depends the context of what the people are saying.
Yeah, I mean, well, look. Okay, so I think so. Let's give a practical example. So let's just say, what's that? Hey, Dom, who's that? The radio host, the super famous one.
Is he black?
Australian?
No, American.
Joe Rogan,
No, joke. You know what I'm talking about?
Alan
Ebro,
Jones.
Charlemagne.
No. Yeah, what's his name?
Is that the Stern guy? Howard Stern?
Howard Stern. Okay, yeah, Howard Stern. So let's say Howard Stern.
Alan Jones.
So let's say Howard Stern. He did a skit like 20 years ago where he's just saying nigga everything, like nigga this, black lady this, nigga that. Do you think he should be cancelled?
Has he come back to
Depends.
apologize for that?
Yeah, he came back and he said that I was a different person at that time and I apologize.
The best apology is change behavior. So what's his behavior like
Yeah.
now? How does he...
And how long ago?
He's definitely not doing that. Like 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, but like also how does he approach the N-word? How does he talk about
Black people? Is he speaking up for Black people?
Like,
I wouldn't say necessarily speaking up for Black people, but you can tell that he is apologetic.
okay.
Now, and that's where that's
Apologetic
Dr.
because
Trump's
it came out?
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think if he never came out, I don't think he would have went out and said, "Hey, 20 years ago, I said this, and that."
But why would anyone do that?
But it wasn't like it's fairly available, isn't it? It's just it's resurfaced.
Yeah, it's
what's
I mean,
happened.
if you really wanted to go search for it, I don't think it would have been too hard for anyone at any time to actually go look at it. But the crazy part of it was like a video, and then like it was on national TV. Like it wasn't like some low key TV channel thing. It was like on national TV, and someone was like, "Go, what he said is bad, but what's worse is that was
Everyone
normal."
around him.
Yeah, like that was normal at that time.
And
so,
they aired it.
Yeah, and they
Exactly.
aired it on national
There was
TV.
an editor, a producer.
Yeah.
It went through 10.
showrunner.
It went through
somebody
10.
approved that.
So then
The-
it clearly shows that that was the
time that
the
we were-
time
The
that they
time.
were in. So
Yeah, it's crazy. So I know Rebecca, you said that you're very
Rebka.
It's Rebka.
I
Thank you,
Same,
sis.
Don't worry, we can edit that out. Rebka, so I know you said that you were very focused on activism, and I've seen you. I've had a little stalk of your Instagram. Yeah, it's not like that though. You gotta chill out. Yeah, so look, what are your opinions of what's been happening over the last 2 months, and what's your energy and where you at right now?
You know, it's really interesting to see how this has become. It's not niche. Like Black Lives Matter 5-6 years ago was a radical statement. Like no, all lives matter, and it's so interesting to see the way it's moved to the mainstream and become the norm to young people, especially, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like the more it becomes the norm, the more sanitized it gets. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
So it
break that
becomes, it's
down.
like, oh, well, it means, it doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that, like, you know, it's like kind of like how Martin Luther King happened. Like, oh, he just wants everyone to love each other. But really, you know what I mean? When really he was quite radical himself. So it gets sanitized. So we have to be like, look, this movement demands real radical change in ourselves. It's not something where it's like, let's just all be equal. But that requires such drastic work. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to not get complacent just because it's picking up so much traction. And it's also really, really important, like we said in one of our latest episodes, to look at our own backyard. Yeah. Because David Dungay died almost the exact same way that George Floyd did 5 years ago, and I never heard of it till now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's insane. So I think it goes to show how American cultural hegemony, like, even permeates.
Hegemony, I like that.
Yeah. She
I
wants
think
to
I'm gonna have to put like a little description of hegemony for the people. I don't think my people's know that word, but okay, we learned.
Their cultural dominance even permeates like our like racial grievances. It's like America has experienced something for us to realize that it happens where we are. You know what I mean? So we should try our best to also be as like mindful of the injustices here as well.
So I think that was a great way to end it. Girls, I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you guys do. I appreciate your platform and the opportunities you guys are creating. And thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
cool.